Hi everybody, my name is Tracy Held. If you missed me in the intro video, I'm in Melbourne in Australia, and this is my card that I'm going to be showing you today. So thank you for joining us for this STEM camp. I know that all the presenters are very excited to be here, and we hope that you've enjoyed the projects that we've put together for you, and maybe some of you have already made up some of the projects in the tutorial. So you may have noticed that I'm going with the same colouring as I used in my tutorial project. So at the moment, Pale Papaya and Cajun Craze is my go-to combination. Pale Papaya is my favourite of the in colours, and to me it just works perfectly with Cajun Craze. So let me show you all the bits and pieces that we're going to be using, and I'll give you the measurements as we're going along. So my card base is Pale Papaya, and that's the standard card base, 14.9 by 21 centimeters, or it would be 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And then the Cajun Craze is your next layer. Now, as I show you this, I will tell you that I do this often. I'll tell you how I do that as we're going along. But my next layer is going to be 14.4 by 10 centimeters, which would be 5.25 by 4 inches. I then have a basic white layer, which again, you can see these layers are just going smaller and smaller by our standards. So 13.9 by 9.5 centimeters, which is 5 by 3 3/4 inches. I have another piece of white, which is going to be the insert for my card, which is my 14.4 by 10 centimeters, or 5.25 by 4 inches. And I've got a piece of DSP, which is 13.9 by 7.5 centimeters, or 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 inches. And the other bits and pieces that I have is I've cut out some of the circles. So those are from my layering circles dies. I'm also going to be using the largest rectangle from the Stitched So Sweetly dies, and I've got the Bark 3D embossing folder. So now that we've got all of our measurements and our bits and pieces, let's get going on the card. I'm going to start with my stamping and watercolouring so that that's got time to dry while I'm assembling. So I just decided spongy, and anybody who comes to my classes knows that I'm really big on stamping the inside of the card. I don't want to get ink all over my mat, and the envelopes. I like everything matching, so we're going to stamp that for the corner, and I'm going to try and do it this way so that I get really nice coverage, that I've got a dark stamp on my flower. And there we go on the circle. Now, I'm not very big on colouring. I don't really like colouring. I know that some people love colouring and they can spend hours colouring. I'm just too impatient for that. So all my colouring is really quick. And this is the ultimate quick colouring. So with your water painter, picking up some of your ink. This is the Cajun Craze. And I tend to try and go a bit darker in the middle and then spread the colour out as I'm going towards the edges. And like I say, if you love colouring, you can go for it and make it as beautiful as you like. I'm just going quick, and I like that watercolour look, so for me it's fine. We'll just maybe just kind of get the insides with a little bit of Go. And then watercoloring is easy. Remember, you just need to wipe it off and you'll get the color off your brush that you can change colors. And with, sorry, I'm making a really big noise clattering here. So pale papaya for these little flowers. So I will just, while I'm busy doing this, tell you about the inside of my card, what I was saying here. That's one of my favorite tricks, is if you ever deconstruct one of my cards, you will find that it generally has gaping holes in the middle of it. I always take these layering pieces, and where I'm going to be using one of the colors, I just cut out the inside, because once that's layered, you're not going to see that on the inside. I seem to be missing flowers as I'm going along. I think I'm doing too much talking. Okay, and then mint macaron for the leaves. Like I said, I'm a lazy colorer, and that will be my colouring all done. I'm just doing this colouring on my standard basic white cardstock. There's nothing fancy with what I'm doing there. So the other thing that I would be doing, that I think that you've had enough of watching me colour, is I normally do an envelope as well. I'm sort of very big on having the inside matching the card, matching the envelope. So while that colouring is drying, let's work on our next bit. So taking my piece of white, which I said was for the top, the first thing that you're going to do, and I'm not going to cut on camera, so I'll show you what I'm doing and then I've got my pieces cut, okay, is taking my die. I'm putting it that it's going, sorry, now, like that. Okay, so we're putting the die over the cardstock, and you can have that as high or as low as you like, and if you want it centered, if you're really fussy, then try and center it, otherwise it can be off center. And you're going to run that through your Big Shot machine, so that's going to cut like that. Okay, now I want to just see if you can see this. I don't know if it's picking up. There are marks along there where once it's gone through, it's making an impression of the die that's underneath there. Don't worry about that. Okay, that's fine, because we're going to hide that. So once I've got my piece, I'm going to take my sentiment and stamp my sentiment. So here I did anything is possible. This one I'm going to do thanks. You've got all those lovely sentiments in the stamp set, and don't you love the font of the stamp set? So stamp your sentiment. Okay. And then once you've stamped your sentiment, you're going to take your piece and run it through your embossing folder. And like I said, once you've run it through the embossing folder, you're not going to see any of the marks that were there from cutting the darts. And then we're ready to put the card together. So there we go with our base. And here you'll see exactly what I was saying. Once I've got a hole in the middle and everything's stamped and covered, unless you go and deconstruct my card, you're not going to know that I actually had anything missing from the center of the page. I particularly like doing this when I'm using the foil paper. I just think that foil paper is so beautiful, and you don't want to go and cover it up and then you've got all of that and wasting everything in the middle. So cut out your middles and you can then use your pieces for everything else. And let's stick the DSP down. Right, next I'm going to layer up my circles. While I'm doing my sticking, let's just stick the inside in as well. Okay, now I'm sticking all the rest on with dimensionals. So we want it all layered up, and I have to say that I always laugh when I'm watching people putting dimensionals on their pieces, because some go for the bare minimum and others layer up dimensionals that you've got no space anywhere else. So how many dimensionals do you use when you're busy sticking? And then of course the dimensional backs have to come off, which means that you have little hexagons all over the house. And the more dimensionals you use, the more backs have to come off. And I lots. And some people only use like 2 or 3, and others there's just dimensionals covering everything. Yeah, this color combination is a little bit different to the colors that are standard in that hand pen suite, but just remember, because those are the colors that Stampin' Up! Has suggested, it doesn't mean that you have to stick with them. You can go with it and do whatever you like. So experiment and see what different colors work for you. And one in the middle. So then, and obviously depending on how you stamp your flowers, you're going to get a different section of the image on your piece. Bling makes everything better, so some of these gorgeous genial gems going into the center of the flowers. I've used the green ones, and some of my pale papaya ribbon. I pre-tied the bows because tying bows on camera always makes a mess. Now, I don't know if anybody else has found this. I feel like this roll of glue dots has been rolled backwards because the dots are actually on the paper rather than being on the roll. So it makes it a little bit inconvenient to press it on. You know, normally you would press it against there and it's just up, but I feel like they rolled this roll of glue dots backwards. But okay, we can deal with that. So stick on your bow, and there's your card. Now, I've got a few different samples to show you, but I thought before I show you those, let me show you. Here I've done the same card, but with the different image from that stamp set. So you've got the 2 different flowers, and I always start off doing one thing and then have to try and see how it looks in a different color. So just showing you some extra samples. That's a card that I've done just using scraps of the paper. And there's another one. These two, when I said you can't make up your mind what color, so those are the same, but using different colors of the DSP. Don't you love this DSP? And then these ones I got as swaps, so I haven't actually made them, but they're using the stamp set. And again, I don't think I've seen a card that's ugly using the stamp set and paper. It's all beautiful. So that's what I have to show you today. Those are my cards. I hope that you've enjoyed this. You're going to try this technique. It's if you make cards, either the ones that we've shown you or other cards using the hand pen suite, please put them up into the group for us to see. Everybody loves inspiration, and we all like to see how you use our designs and what alternatives you come up with. So Carly's going to be up at 12 o'clock Australian time. So that's in about just over an hour and a half from now. And have a great time. Enjoy the suite. I'm sure you're going to make lots and lots of beautiful cards. Thank you for watching with me. And if there were any comments that I missed or questions that I missed, I will answer them. We'll see you next time. Bye.